How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Q&A. Today, joined with us, we have Mod Matt K.
Yo.
Ian.
Hello.
Mod Ghost.
Hello.
Mod John C.
Hello.
Mod Reach.
Yep.
And myself, Mod Archie. All right, let's get into this. First question from Faux Freedom. Can Iron Men become player mods?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, they can be player mods. The next part of the question, because I read it earlier, was what happens with their icon, and I don't know.
I do know. I do know
I-
a few player mods who are Iron Men. The Iron Man icon overrides the player mod icon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're talking to someone on an RS3 world, in which case I think it'll ignore your Iron Man icon.
It does. Yes.
And show up as a player mod icon.
I believe there are no player mod RS3 Iron Men. Obviously, that doesn't apply to us because players can create, or who already have existing accounts, who haven't played Old School before, can go through Tutorial Island
You can still
and
PM
turn into an
people
Iron
across
Man.
games.
Of course, Jord. Yeah.
Yes, that's the one I'm referring to. That's the only reason I know.
Okay, there you go. So it is possible. Okay.
All sorts of things happen then.
Should we address the fact that Ash isn't here today? Reason for that being,
I think we
he just
should.
has the
Should
day
we
off.
all don our sad faces?
I
Yes,
think we even
it's-
have a kind of cool image to throw up when we can. But there you go. So, this is something created by Mod Ghost.
This is Where's Wally, by
Is
the
he
way.
actually in there?
This is
Yeah,
Where's
yeah.
Ash?
Yeah, he's on
Yeah.
holiday at the moment.
Oh,
We took a
this is
photograph.
Okay, cool idea.
Ash is on holiday.
So
and,
So that'll explain why he's not here
That is a
today.
That is a faraway selfie that Ash has sent us. That is accurate.
He,
You do find beaches like that at this time of year.
so
Yes.
he attached his phone to a seagull, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
All right, okay. We have
See,
questions.
Let's
Yeah,
say
they found
it's
him.
Wally.
It didn't take long.
We did have a sort of 20-minute discussion before the stream.
20 minutes.
Well,
Wow.
maybe 5 then. About what actually that was
30
called. And
seconds.
of course, Chris believes it's called Where's Waldo.
It is
and
Where's
has never
Wally.
heard
No,
of
it's Where's Wally.
You've been lied to.
Yeah.
Anyways, Ash is getting his tan on. So next question. This one's from two guys. Why is there no update this week?
We're a little bit busy getting the trading post ready for next week, and then the following week we'll have Christmas and hopefully the remaining Poll 28 content that was just past its poll.
So it is a very busy end of the year. Just
Yes, yeah. We managed to get everything else out we needed last week, so we've got this gap where we can really focus on, like you said, the trading post. I mean, that's practically done now, isn't it?
Yeah, more or less. Got a few more things to check. Yeah.
Yep. I've got a video going up today actually about it. So
Sweet.
Keep an eye out
Sweet.
for that.
Sneak peek.
Indeed. And then Christmas, which is looking absolutely amazing. Chap here
Yeah.
has done an absolutely amazing job with it. Get really excited about that. And then obviously Snake Boss is the next thing which will be kicking off in January.
Yep, early January for that.
And Dan's been working hard on achievement diaries.
Yes.
So,
I'm 5 out of 11 now.
Yeah, but then you realise there was a load of rewards.
There are awards, yes, but 5 out of the 11 diaries themselves are done. So we're on track.
I've still got to finish writing. I've got I think 3.5 left to write, but my design doc for Snake Boss is just about finished now. So.
Good.
Awesome. All right, next question. This one's from Lizard Ice Boy. Can monster heads like the Abyssal Head / King Black Dragon head be, sorry, I want to say KBD head, I'm just going to say that, be crafted into an actual helmet to make them more useful?
What, just like cosmetic helmets?
I don't think they were going for cosmetic.
So they want them to be useful.
Yeah.
It makes sense to
Fair.
help you kill.
I was
the
just
boss you
thinking
got
that.
it
I
from.
think
Yeah.
if you were to do something like that, I'd make them relevant to the bosses they came from. I'm not quite sure
So
what you'd
breathing
make
fire.
Well, it's not much breathing fire. I mean, it could act as almost an anti-dragon shield in some respects, have the same effect. I'm not sure what an abyssal head would do though.
5% more damage against the Abyssal Demons, maybe?
Perhaps.
Given that they're 1 in 5,000.
Better chance
Okay.
of a whip.
This is kind of cool, and we might be able to pull. What do you guys think? Would you like to see the heads you get from things like the KBD actually be wearable?
There's one for Kurasks, Abyssal Demons, Basilisks, Cockatrice, King Black Dragon, Calfight Queen.
Oh, geez.
Swaps.
That's a good question. All right. Next, from Draj, we have, can we get the Jingle Bells soundtrack from the 2006 Karamja Volcano Christmas event?
You will unlock it this year.
There you go. Quick yes. You will get it this year. All right, next question. Jesus Loves You asks, can we have the ability to buy the Cooking, Goldsmith, and Chaos Gauntlets for a large one-time fee?
So you can have all 3 at
So
once?
you can have all
Yeah.
3, yeah.
Um,
There's nothing really stopping you from having that.
yeah, I don't think there was any major reason why you could only have 1 at a time.
Really?
I think it was just always the design decision back in the day that meant
Yeah.
you couldn't.
I think it just is
It's-
design. isn't
There's
it?
absolutely no reason for us to stop you from having that. There's just a few checks to say, have you already got one? we just remove those checks and you can have all three.
I think that sounds an easy thing to poll, doesn't it?
It's an easy thing to do.
Yeah, Ash tidied all the checks up recently when he added the right-click ops, so it should be fairly easy to remove.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, definitely doable. Good question. All right, this one's from Helm to Rag 1. How long does it take to write a dev blog, and how are they created? This is actually a question for Ronan, who's sitting off to the side right now. If you can kind of yell.
Say again, I was doing a straw poll.
How long does it take to write a dev blog, and how do you exactly go about making them?
Depends completely on what the content is generally, but for example with the Snake Boss and the Achievement Diary rewards, we did one on a Friday, and then over the weekend we let the feedback roll in. Then on the Monday through to Wednesday we went over all the feedback that we were getting and pretty much addressed it all, and then put out a new one on Wednesday and hold that if it went down well.
There you go.
Time-wise varies completely.
Yeah.
Entirely depending on what it is.
Especially the latest Achievement Diary rewards, I can imagine that took some time.
Yeah, quite a bit of time. It was
Yeah.
a massive one. That.
Yeah, I think we spent most of last week working
a big
those out.
All right. Anyways, next question. So again, from Helm to Rag 1. Will we ever see new rewards from Barbarian Assault?
I mean, we offered, I think, 1 or 2 way back in the minigame poll, like poll 14, I think it was. That was before I even started.
Yeah, I can't remember that long ago.
Yeah, that was about a year ago.
Wow.
We made some changes to the drop table for the hard gamble and the
Yeah.
easy gamble as well, actually, which brought some life to the achievement to the minigame. I don't see any reason why we can't add more specific drops to it. I mean, we added the penance pet, which was a fantastic little pet. I know a lot of people tried gambling for that.
Yeah.
I actually got it in the first 10 minutes. But
I think I've only seen one since that one, actually.
no, I don't think I've even seen any since that one. But there's no reason why we
No,
can't
I've
add
got
more rewards. So we can definitely try and put new things in there, make the minigame a bit more, or bring some life back to the minigame.
Yeah. Possible.
Right, yeah, that's right. Because we were adding stuff to the existing stuff, didn't we? Penance legs.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things,
penance legs that
strength
didn't
bonuses
pass.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
What about instead of new items, the ability to maybe imbue older items, like an imbued torso or anything like
Yeah,
that?
I saw one idea, I can't remember where, it might be on the Achievement Diaries idea thread actually, for some items from rewards that actually benefit you inside the minigame itself.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what was specifically mentioned, but I like the idea.
It's an interesting idea.
I mean,
All right. So we have the poll results from asking if you guys want to have wearable monster heads, like the KBD head, for example. And that passes. If we were to poll that, 76%? That passes.
I'll write
Someone's
that
got a
down.
notepad with him this week.
Because
So
we always say that's an awesome idea and never actually remember what they are.
So it might actually
Not
make its way
always.
to a poll. And should it looks like it'd probably pass. That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
All right, next question. Laceless RS asks, any chance we'll ever be able to drink potions quicker?
Yeah, we just got to take down the delay.
There is a delay in them, as John says. I believe that's just to keep things fair. We'd actually have to rebalance how eating food works at the same time, and obviously the latency between the combat attack styles as well. So I think that's only just down to keeping things fair.
Yeah.
We could rework that, but then how much of combat do you want us to rework? Is the next question I would give you.
I think really brews are the only, controversial topic there. Maybe prayer pots as well. But
Again, if you're going to make changes like that, I wouldn't make it to specific pots. I'd have to make those changes, or expect to
Right.
make those changes to all pots.
I wouldn't expect it to pass a poll inside a million
no,
years.
all I'm
Anyway.
seeing is no's.
If we're going to be doing something like that, we have to then ask you the question: how much of combat do you want us to change?
Right.
And quite frankly, I'm expecting that answer to come back as a flat no.
Yeah.
So
Small question, really big negative answer there. So next one's from Lace Lasaris again. I really enjoyed the Mythbusters stream we did last week. Can we see more streams like that in the future? Definitely, yes. That's kind of one for me. So if we can come up with any other ideas, if you guys have any yourself that you want to see us streaming, as long as these guys have the time out of their day and they're not too busy.
Oh, we'll always find the time. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I still think Jagex Science has some merit to it.
Jagex Science.
Jagex Science.
So Reach wants to get something like a real life monkfish.
Walk into
like
Barclays.
eat it or something.
It was
I
more
regret
ta-
saying that
Eat
because
it
they're
in
going to
one
say
bite.
yes.
It was more taking some of the things that RuneScape finds logical, yet the real world finds completely illogical.
So
Such
eat a
as
shark in one bite.
that, and walking into, say, Barclays with a salmon and trying to put it behind the counter in your bank account and seeing what the reaction was, because RuneScape members are more than happy to accept a salmon in your bank. But
Yeah.
Or
I
even
volunteer
live
you for that.
animals.
Or chopping
Sorry?
down 28
Even
trees.
live animals.
even live
Yeah,
animals,
that's
yeah.
for you, quite happily.
Okay.
I can't.
Oh,
walk in with-
Hunter.
Can you look
Yeah.
after my cat for me?
Yeah, you just walk
absolutely.
in. I've got my dog here. Would you mind?
Chop down 28
I thought
trees
Jagex
and carry them
Science had
around.
quite a bit of merit to it.
How about
Okay.
10,000 chin chompers?
So we've got way too many good ideas.
Or trying to walk around with more than one cannonball on you and still being able to run.
If I like notice stuff will probably be easier because I'm thinking, we looked at the price of a monkfish and buying monkfish ain't cheap. So maybe just make a whole load of notes and take them into the bank would be easier.
Or
Or
even-
the monkfish.
Get cheap fish. Like a mackerel doesn't cost much.
Probably not.
But,
I think lobster and swordfish would be the.
I think we should get a shark.
Yeah. Lobster, swordfish, shark, the three definitely most known.
We
Okay,
could
anyways,
take
we're getting
in-
off topic.
we could take in one half of Rune Shark to
That's
put them in
true.
the bank. That's
it,
what
right?
I'm thinking.
Just walk up with just James under your arm and be like, can I just put that in, please?
Okay, all right. Next question.
Sorry.
This one's from Nate's Dailies, and he asks, when can we expect to see achievement diaries actually in the game?
For now, we've just slated them for Q1 2015 because there's still a fairly large amount of work to do. Hopefully, it's late January, early February, but it
There
could
you
be as late as March. You just have to wait and see.
When I hear 2015, I think that's so far away, but it's really like less than a month away.
Yeah,
It's
so-
3 weeks today.
Yeah.
They're
Four.
on
It's
target
crazy.
to be
Four.
due for very, very early 2015. If the work that John's now given me, on top of the actual making of the diaries, is to pass all of its poll, then we might have to review that. But at the moment, I'm ahead of schedule, so we should be fine for an early 2015 launch.
Awesome.
Yay.
Good news. All right, this one's from Shiba RS. Can we have the ability to see our total wins/losses in the duel arena?
I'm pretty sure we can start tracking that.
We'd have, as John said, we couldn't give you your figures from day one. We don't have them tracked because obviously we haven't put that in game. If we were to put that in game, which is very easy, that's a 10-minute job.
I really
Even
like
less
that
than
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can start tracking it from today.
Yeah, probably start, yeah.
Really? Okay.
That's
Another one
really
that might make its way to the poll.
I could even give you your stats for Castle Wars because we're tracking that right now.
We've been tracking them for like almost a year now.
I know, coming up to a year, yeah.
All right, there you go. Okay, next question. This one's from The King Normo. Can we have other god potions similar to the Zamorak or Cerdamin Brew, but for like Armadillo or Bandos?
Sure. What they like them to do.
I think like a 20% boost instead of whatever it is, a 16, I think it is.
I can't remember
Is that the Sarah Brew? Is 16%?
Sarah Brew does defense, Samurak Brew does attack.
Yeah, we could do one for range.
Armadillo I would expect to be range.
And then Bandos for strength.
Yeah, that's easy doable.
Brassica primed?
Brassica Prime.
I knew that was coming.
It does a completely arbitrary stat. It doesn't even have to be combat. One of them
Fire
at
making.
one of them at random will get a huge buff.
Cooking?
Okay.
Fire making.
Cooking makes sense as a cabbage, but it's a completely random god, so I'd expect a completely random stat.
All right. Next question. This one's from RS Apples. Can we expect to see the return? Oh, this is the big one. The return of PvP armors and weapons. I figured, you know what? We've answered this a bunch of times before. Let's do it one final time. Will we ever see PvP armors in Old School?
Unlikely. We've not mentioned them for a while, but I think 3 times we've offered you the armors.
Twice, I think,
Twice.
Yeah.
And the weepons at least once, and they've always gone down terribly.
There you go.
Yeah.
We do get a lot of requests for things
Oh,
like this
so
still,
sad.
even to this day. A lot of people have said, especially with the release of Corporal Beast, can we have a stacked hammer because obviously we used it back in the day and BGS isn't good enough. Can we have Vestas Spear because we need to counteract crashes?
Yeah.
And that's all well and good, but I still think that if we offered it to you again, given the recent success rate of both polls failing miserably, I think that will still follow the same path. Not enough people are too into things like Corporal Beast and things like that.
And they do affect the wider game.
Exactly. And when you consider things like the Vestas Sword, which we couldn't just offer you parts of the
Right.
PvP set just because we have things like Corporal Beast, we'd have to offer you the entire range you had before. And when you consider Vestas Sword had a special attack that was, out of this world powerful, I don't think that fits
Yep.
in with the current, balance of the
I
game
think
we've
that
got right now.
Easily the best weapon to ever.
It had 5
come to
special
the
attacks
game.
and even
Yeah.
one of them could kill you.
Yeah.
There's a reason it was called
Ridiculous.
penetration.
Well, it's damn
That's true.
expensive though, to be
Yeah.
fair. And once you used it once, you couldn't
I mean,
sell it. So.
if the decision of the wider community changes and everyone all of a sudden decides they'd like PvP armors, we can look into giving it to you again.
Yep.
However, I don't feel that's what the current game is after right now.
Yeah,
I
we-
don't think
we-
enough people have support that idea.
We wouldn't rule them out and say never ever because we understand that opinions change, but as Dan said, at the minute we don't feel like the sentiment is there to justify a repoll just yet.
There you go, guys. All right. Next question. Could you pull a ballista/scorpion weapon that uses javelins for ammunition, similar to the cannon? So this is a kind of cool
I actually
idea.
like that idea.
Yeah.
I'm keen to bring some life back to old weapons such as the javelins and spears
Yep.
and darts and all the other sort of arbitrary range weapons.
You say
that
bring life back
don't-
to javelins, it never really had any.
They never
in
did.
Some,
They
in some
never
respects,
did.
sure. So they never really had any. I think with the continent, that's a very good opportunity for me to bring life back to, give life to old weapons like that. I think they've really lost their touch. You get them as a drop. Some of them are rare, and they're not rare at all. They're completely useless. So I would like to be able to do something with them. And I think the continent's a good chance for that. Instead of cramming them into the current map, I'd just solve the problem somewhere else. What we do is entirely up to you, I guess. I really like that idea, actually.
Yeah. What about the idea, instead of just like a cannon that you mount, maybe not, okay, don't think hand cannon here, but a weapon you hold and you can load your javelins into it and then it like harpoons them into people.
Gatling gun.
Yeah.
Almost like, yeah, almost like a Gatling gun.
We could do a whaling update.
How? Oh, no.
And then you use the whale in one bite.
No, I'm down for any ideas anybody's got, really. There's no reason why we shouldn't. I mean, there's every reason we should. So it's just what you want them to do and how you want them to work and, where they do work. So I'm all up for that idea. In fact, I've got plans for that. Send me ideas and I'll see what I can do with them, really.
All right. Next big question we've definitely never answered before. From Jay Hackham, will the Divine ever be repolled?
I've not seen many people ask for it since like the first couple of days of Corp's release, to be honest.
Yep.
And given how much that it failed its poll by, again, it's going to need a huge change in sentiment to justify it.
Yep.
And we're just not seeing that.
Very similar to, the PvP armors then.
Yeah, I did actually speak to a Corporal Beast clan. I've not actually, I can't remember their name, it was quite long, a few weeks ago. And I remember saying, what do you guys think about Divine? And I got back, we don't really mind. I mean, it's fun as it is. I'm making a lot of money for Elysians. So that's absolutely fine. As John said, we've not heard anybody really calling out for a Divine since the launch. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation that we should do it afterwards and see how it was. We've seen how it was, and there really isn't much in the way for it.
Yep.
I mean, I know the Twitch chat is shouting
we get a
yes
straw
at us
poll?
right now, but
Yeah.
I mean, we could put it to a straw poll. But again, I haven't had much feedback saying we really need Divine. Divine is a must for us right now. Everybody seems perfectly happy with what they've got currently.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change much, to be honest. But
I'm
we'll
content
see.
with the Ellie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody
I mean-
else seems content with it.
Yeah.
I still get tweets even now. I got a tweet earlier today actually saying, "Oh my god, Elysian!" So
Yeah,
I've had
especially
it
with
for a
the cool animation that pops up when it's actually in effect.
Yes.
I really like that.
It's really nice.
I like Arath.
All right, next question from the Mindscaper. Can we see an update to Prospector Percy in Mother of the Mind? Dragon Pickaxe should be there, not Bounty Hunter. And then there was also another kind of side question. The idea of giving him the ability to note ore so Iron Man can use MLM.
The noting thing is easy enough to do. It has to be
Yeah.
polls as long as
Would that
people are
be
happy
OP?
with it.
Do you think?
Yeah, well, they're still got to carry them around as ultimates,
Right.
assuming it's for. I'm happy enough to offer it. If you guys wanted it, they could do it. The Dragon Pickaxe cosmetic upgrade, I'm assuming, is what it was
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
at.
Yeah.
We can add that to his shop as well, so you haven't got to go and buy emblems to grab it. I mean, the
Yeah,
The-
that.
Bounty Hunter store
Same.
does have enough content in it that I wouldn't mind having that somewhere else.
I somewhat agree, although I'm sceptical that it's been there long enough now that that's where people are used to seeing it. So I'm not sure whether changing it would be so much of a great idea. But if everybody else disagrees and that's what they want, then I'm happy enough to change it.
Okay. And we have a response back from the Divine Spirit Shield poll. Pretty typical. There's a lot of people that want it, but
Yeah.
to be fair, there's a lot of people that don't want it.
60-40, yeah, that's pretty much what it got on its original poll, I think.
Yeah.
Looking at that, I mean, I know that Twitch chat represents a tiny, tiny amount of the overall players that we have, especially those who vote. I still reckon if we were to poll it again right now, that vote would be very, very similar to what the official vote would be. Not enough for it to pass.
All right. Next question. This is an interesting one. This is from RS Kayla. Is it possible to give us any current bot band figures from Mod Weth? And we actually have the numbers. Brace yourself. So since Mod Weth joined the Old School team in April, he's given us the numbers of 475,257 macroing offenses issued and over 112 billion GP removed from gold selling accounts. 112 billion
Well done, Wade.
GP.
Yes.
That is impressive. Seriously.
He does. I've even got messages from him on Facebook on Saturday at 1 a.m. saying, "Have a look at this for me, just verify it." And my response is, "What are you doing, banning bots at 1 a.m.?" So he works around the clock.
He loves it.
He deliberately asked to be able to access the bot banning stuff from home so he could do it at the weekends. That's the commitment he has,
Yeah.
which is nuts, quite frankly, but there we go.
That was a weak clap. I feel like we should have done much more.
Let's do a proper round of applause.
All right, to Mod Weth. Okay, that's better. All right, next question. This is from the Mindscaper again. Any chance of any new quests coming with the new continent?
I actually read a really interesting post on Reddit about this. A lot of people were saying, just give us, a random load of really terrible quests plastered all over the place. We just want to see quests. And I saw a lot of responses, almost rightfully saying, we don't want random, stupid quests plastered everywhere. We'd like to have some, meaty content in some quests. I think by doing that for pre-launch would extend the time it would take for development to give you the content massively. So I think we should definitely look at things like that afterwards. I'm really desperate to write a quest. I would love to put, my imagination into a quest for you. Ash has written some really very, very important storylines for the game, and some of his favourite highlights include The Wise Old Man. And I'd like to be able to put sort of my touch into that as well. So being able to write a quest would be lovely.
Yep.
Having the platform such as the continent there is a great opportunity for me to do things like that. So I'll investigate that as I'm doing development for it. But for the most part, I just want to get the foundations there and get all the other content that we've spoke to you about and haven't spoke to you about there. I might put 1 or 2 small quests on the island as I'm doing it, but anything big would have to be almost post-launch, because obviously that would then delay the time it takes me to give it to you. But
Yeah.
I would love to do quests. It's a very good opportunity for us to do quests, and you can almost expect to see quests there at some point in the future.
Okay. Not a bad answer. All right. This one's from Caleb Jerusik. Can we get an old school item in-game or emote by buying the 2015 Premier membership?
We had a big chat about this actually when we were coming up with the Premier Club stuff, and sort of the brief we were given, or I was given, was what can we put in game to encourage people to buy the Premier Club, and the answer came back as nothing, mainly because however it's dressed up, it boils down to 2 simple facts. Someone's going to buy this Premier Club thing, which I don't even know how much it costs, however many pounds it costs to buy, and by spending that amount of money, they will get an item which other players won't have. And so we looked at that, and no matter how we tried to dress it up, there was no way of differentiating those 2 things. And we thought, you're not going to like that. So, although from a commercial point of view, it makes perfect sense to go and try and sell you this Premier Club thing much more by giving you stuff in game to do it. The fact that you guys would be unhappy with it counterbalanced that hugely. So we were just like, good, but no.
Yeah, I think they'll really appreciate that too.
Yeah.
So people who spend money don't get things others don't.
Saying that, it's still kind of worth buying. I think you saved like 30% of membership over the year.
No, it's not a bad deal at all. If you're going to be playing for the next 12 months, it's a good cheap way of buying.
I think the gold one is what, £52?
To be honest with you, I have no
I think
idea
it's
what
actually
the prices of it.
£52, 50 pence.
50, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder where you got that information from. We've got a screen down there.
The exclusivity is nice and all, but again, when you're running a game that doesn't have everyone's got access to everything, which is what makes Old School so special. I don't think having exclusive content available to somebody whose wallet's bigger than somebody else is much of a good idea.
I think they're going to appreciate that. All right, next question. Artemis Vergult, and he's at Enhanced Excalibur, if it's going to be coming with the Achievement Diaries.
I didn't offer it for the simple reason that I had a lot of people asking me not to.
Really?
And it was heavily outweighed by the odd person asking for it.
Okay.
They make the point that it would devalue the SGS.
That's true.
Not entirely, but there's also being able to heal on the spot without food is limited to Guthan's, the SGS, that one prayer that does next to nothing, and the toxic blowpipe, which is coming soon.
Ooh.
So bringing it, and Blood Barrage, obviously.
Right.
So bringing out something else to do that would kind of devalue all of those, not by much, but it would have done, and there was a lot of concern, so I just didn't bother offering it.
Probably the safe call. All right, next question. Duffeldoff asks, any plans to close off a few worlds to help other worlds become more populated?
No, we polled it at one point, didn't we? And failed the poll. But I mean, that being said, if you want to have a more populated world, you just go to a more populated world. I mean, by closing worlds, we're forcing people to interact with each other, and there are many people who just want to go out there and just play by themselves and find somewhere where there's nobody hanging around, and more worlds is a good thing. But the only reason I can see to make worlds more popular is because you as an individual want to interact with more people. In which case, go to a 301 or 333 or whatever is a popular world for you. Is it 330? 330, yeah.
I think the big problem we have with that as well is everyone's very protective of their home world, so what worlds do we remove? So you can't really poll, should we remove world 330?
Yes.
Because then everyone in 330 would vote no. And should we remove world 374? Because everyone there would vote no.
Yeah.
So what worlds do you remove at that point? Because any world you remove, you're going to wind somebody up.
If we remove 10 worlds, we'll upset 10 groups of people. Rather not.
What really annoys me is that we've got gaps in our numbering system, and I know that we can't renumber them because it would upset those said people who live in World 374, 375,
Well,
376.
add in them, we're using different servers.
All right,
Actually,
next
probably
question.
couldn't, to be honest with you.
Let's move on. This is a kind of cool idea from OS Eliok, and he's asking, would it be possible, depending on your fishing level, to fish up a message in a bottle and receive a clue scroll?
This idea's come up once before. I think
Yeah.
like 6 months
It
ago.
was woodcutting, something someone suggested as well.
I thought it was
Yeah.
an awesome idea.
Message in a bottle for woodcutting.
No, someone said bird's nests.
Yeah, you
Oh,
get
right.
a
Oh, yeah,
chance
okay,
of getting a
okay,
clue
that
scroll
makes
from a
sense,
bird's
yeah.
nest.
I don't know who's putting clue scrolls in birds' nests, but
Birds, obviously.
They might have found it.
Yeah.
That's definitely possible. There's
Yeah.
absolutely no
Got no
reason why it
magpies
shouldn't
in
work.
game, have we? Probably
Well,
got some
it would have to
magpies
be
in
limited surely to net fishing because you couldn't exactly pick up a message in a bottle with a fishing rod.
there. Yeah.
No, it's true.
maybe not.
You
Maybe.
get caskets.
Or a
You
harpoon.
get
Harpoon,
wellies
yeah.
when you go fishing, or so I'm told, 'cause I've never actually been fishing, but you get wellies and shopping carts and stuff, don't you, when you're fishing?
Yeah.
Well,
Depending on where you fish.
in short,
Surely you just rip it if it's wet paper.
It's
definitely
doable.
It's definitely possible.
Okay.
There's no reason why that's not possible.
Yeah.
You get caskets while fishing, and you get random things inside caskets. There's no reason why we can't, even if we don't do a message in a bottle, give you a rare clue scroll from a
Because you're
casket.
going to get a casket from big net fishing
But,
and no one does that.
Everything, all of that is possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of positive feedback in the Twitch
I
chat.
think,
So
I think it's a good idea.
I
looks
think
like it'd likely pass.
As people are saying in the Twitch chat, it should be an easy clue because obviously doing fishing
Right.
like that is, that's not difficult. If you were fishing sharks barehanded and you managed to grab hold of
An elite?
an elite clue scroll, that would make sense.
What
I don't
about-
know why though you would do that, but
What about depending on your fishing level? Maybe if you were 90 plus fishing, you could get an elite.
yeah. I mean, it would have to depend on your fishing level.
That's how it works.
Right.
That's how it works. That would hit numerous skills, numerous updates, and
Yeah.
numerous high-level stuff.
a
wouldn't
big
it?
update.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's more. It's another expansion to the clue scroll expansion, really.
Yeah.
All right. Cool idea.
Shopping trolley confirmed.
All right. Next question from Mr. O. When we convert our house teleports with scrolls of redirection from Nightmare Zone, could we alter the image slightly? Mod Ghost, do you want to touch on this?
I'm not really sure if we should be altering much in game that's already pre-existing. I get lots of requests through asking me to change certain assets in game that are already pre-existing. We've got a whole new continent of new content coming up, and I think that's the best place to actually implement new designs.
Yeah.
And sort of experiment with how much we can do graphically. But as far as things that are already implemented, I'd always sort of strongly say we should leave things as they are, just
Yeah.
because people don't really want the game messed around with if the content's pre-existing.
Okay.
We know that, so it's kind of I would always be reluctant to change unless it's a blatant bug.
Yeah, that being said, because they all look the same as each other and you can't tell them apart, same with the imbued rings that we did, I still think it's worth polling.
Yeah.
I think so. I think Alfie made those for us. Potentially, did Alfie make those for
No,
us?
these were done
these
in
were-
Nightmare Zone.
Yeah,
So
these
it'd
were
be,
actually. This was before most of you. Yeah, I think something like that is easy to do. It's just putting an H there or an M there or something like that.
We were talking about the idea of possibly chipping some of them or putting a crack in some of those teleport tablets instead. Would that be too difficult for you to do?
No, you could do that, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
nothing's too difficult for you.
So it's doable, but yeah, it depends on you guys.
We'll see.
If you want it, it's definitely doable. All right, next question. Again from Mr. O, and he's asking for the ability to increase the loot bag size for, say, 5 mil bounties or so.
I'm not sure if that's possible.
I don't know what the inventory size is already. To be
28, but it's permanent inventory.
I mean, we can increase the size of inventories. It obviously increases the size of the save game a bit, but I don't know how restricted we are on that. Obviousio RuneScape 3's got much bigger saves than us these days anyway, so I imagine we've got some leeway there.
That's true.
I think
How,
we're quite safe for
I
that.
think if we hit a limitation, I don't imagine it'd be too difficult for us to overcome anyway. So
Well, me and Ash checked taking the bank up to 1,000 slots once, and we didn't have any issues with that.
No, it goes much higher than that.
Yeah.
How-
Have you got
how-
a number? I'd imagine it's around the 65,000 mark.
I'm not saying.
How
2
game
billion?
impacting would that be, increasing the loot bag size?
Given that the looting bag is 28, yet it was to match the inventory, wasn't
Yeah.
it? We'd have to redesign the interface as well to make it hold more. I don't have any issues with it. To be honest, quite happy to something to poll.
I don't
But
particularly have any problem
I
with
think-
that either.
It'd make Ultimate Iron Man happy.
that's the only real part of the game that it affects.
Yeah.
I mean, how much do they want it increased by?
Right.
I wouldn't want to take it up too high.
Right. Interesting question. Okay, next one. This one's for actually Ronan, and he's asking, will we ever, large monthly events similar to Wednesday's stream with a community event that was voted on. So Ronan, in case you guys didn't know, does these community events every Wednesday. This person's asking for one in specific that was voted on by the community once a month. Just a bigger,
Yeah, definitely possible. I've started doing weekly events on Fridays that are just in-game ones that I'm not
Okay.
streaming, so that we can do the stuff that is not as great for streams, but is fun for people attending games. So I don't see any reason not to poll what we're doing. I think
Okay.
it'd be a good idea.
Cool. I'd like to see that in the chat, so if you guys want to, Comment yes or no. Would you like monthly events with Mod Ronin? Be that made, Castle Wars or full Iron Wars, all that fun stuff. Go ahead.
Ultimate Iron Man
Yeah.
Wars.
Iron Man
Oh.
Wars.
No.
That sounds
Ultimate Iron
awesome.
That sounds horrible.
All right, next question. Will the trading post have a dedicated world and location? This would be
Not
one for
really.
Ash.
There's one in every single bank,
Right,
and that's all of them.
right.
So no, not really. I mean, we've got trade worlds anyway in World 1 and 2 and maybe 6. But if your items listed on the trading post, you can only actually trade them in a trade if you're standing inside a bank, around Varric West Bank, or in Falador Park. Hint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go with that.
So I'd imagine people will congregate around World 1, Varric West / Falador Park, like they already do.
Yep. It's really up to you guys wherever you want to meet.
Yeah, there's nothing official.
When Old School came out, we really pushed for people to trade in Falador Park, but just West Varrock won. So, whatever you guys decide at the end of the day, that's where it's going to be.
I think what drove that was that because everyone had a new account, not many could actually teleport to Falador.
That's true.
Yes, yeah,
That's
you're
true.
right, yeah.
Fair enough. All right, next question from Japan Slays. Are there any, I can't speak today. Are there any plans to expand the rooftop update, something like farming patches on top of roofs?
You had something planned for rooftop agility, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, the achievement diaries.
It was achievement diaries, although we're doing achievement diaries right now, and I don't really
you've
have
got
much.
to put them in.
I'm going by the brief I was given.
That's true. Yeah, I completely spaced on that.
Yeah.
It would be a little weird to walk past a roof and see a tree on it. I mean,
True. I think we have done some stuff with the rooftop agility course, and the only thing I can think of really is putting clue scroll crates on top of there when we're not
And
accidentally
then-
removing them.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We can certainly add not so much farming patches. That really doesn't really make much sense.
I don't know, rooftop gardens are quite a common thing, aren't they?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
what farming patches you're putting up there as well, though.
What about
Because
herb patches in sort of, the pots, herb pots?
there is
So maybe
any,
you grow less herbs in them or something.
if
I don't
How about
know.
ponds
you know
for
what?
fishing?
Rooftop
Yeah, ponds for
PKing.
fishing in, yeah.
Rooftop PKing was actually a thing when we launched PvP Worlds. We did have a lot of parkour PKers.
Really?
I had a massive snowball fight on top of Varric.
That's
I'm
terrible.
not sure what I would put on top of rooftop agility courses, to be fair, because obviously at that point you then limit the access immediately on the agility level, and not everyone enjoys agility, let's be honest.
No one enjoys it,
No, in
really.
fact,
I actually like
very
it with
few-
the
very
rooftop.
few
It's not
people.
bad.
That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of people said the same thing actually when it came out. A lot of people still do the same thing, which is fantastic.
I think
and that
the
means
reason
Big
why-
Red Japan's design was brilliant.
Yeah, the reason it worked was because every 10 levels you'd go somewhere else.
Yeah,
So
true.
you weren't
Yeah.
stuck to the same course for 25, 30 levels, which is what made it fun, I think.
For me, it was
Right.
static camera at RD. I could play Football Manager at the same time.
Next question. This one's from Rum353. Can we get sets of cosmetic armor for each skill to match the skill cape? So perhaps every 20 levels, you could say get legs for a skill. Then after the next 20 levels, you get the plate body. Then
That's a lot of items.
Is a lot of items
Yeah.
just to be cosmetic.
How many skills
Yeah.
have we got?
Being
23.
and
23.
being brutally honest, everyone's idea of what looks good as a cosmetic is different. So we couldn't give
That's
you a uniform set for things like farming, because I almost guarantee 50% people would enjoy it, 50% would absolutely bloody hate it. So trying to find a perfect point there.
So are they looking for like armour specifically, or
Just
do they want
cosmetic.
actual outfits?
Just
Robes
Like a
cosmetics
chef's
or-
outfit,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
So
See, that's not too much of an ask, really. I mean,
Really?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
230 items.
Well, if you think like the achievement diary, that's going to have over 140, isn't it?
yeah, those are
Useful.
useful items. They're not so much cosmetic. Everybody in RuneScape has almost their own outfit at the moment anyway, and they've got a lot of certain specific items which everyone wears. But for the most part, what people consider to be their idea of cosmetic is always radically different to the next person.
We do already have quite a large amount of cosmetic items in the game anyway.
Yeah, Clue Scrolls introduced like
Yeah,
400
We
more.
don't want to oversaturate it with another 240.
I think the Twitch chat's already decided that wouldn't pass the poll anyways. So if you have something like the attack cape, just go wear some Zami robes or something.
I think we're slowly turning it more into fashionscape as well.
Yeah.
We've given
Fair enough.
so many people
Maybe we
so
ought
many
to
items.
employ a fashion designer to sit alongside us to help make these cosmetic items.
Okay.
I think there's a few in the office that would jump at the chance.
Yes, there
Moving
is.
on.
Yeah.
All right, next question from Wild Kudrum 4L. If we were to reintroduce the Dragon Defender, would it be a red Defender or its original design, which was completely different from any Defender?
I think we give it a new bespoke design.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you'll
What do
have
you think,
fun
Mod
doing
Ghost?
it.
I don't know. We discussed it, didn't we? And we said we should just keep it exactly the same. I remember having that conversation. I think if people have already seen a version of the item, then surely that'd be the version they would want. I don't see why they particularly want a new machination if that makes no sense to do so.
Yeah, I think kind of working on the nostalgia there would be a good idea.
I think the important part is it's at least red.
Yeah.
Well, whatever design it is,
red-ish.
it's at least red, yeah.
All right. Next question. This one's from the Badger. Can Recipe for Disaster gloves be renamed to Barrows gloves, Dragon gloves, etc., instead of just gloves?
Next poll.
Yes. I think we are long overdue doing that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was... About you helped to write Recipe for Disaster.
Well, I wrote one of the sub-quests, yes.
Well, those Barrow gloves were never confirmed to be Barrow's gloves. They just shared the same colour tone.
They were Barrows
Yes,
gloves.
that
Come on.
was
No.
the case with all the gloves in there. They happen to have the appropriate level of stats and colours.
There are comments in the script that say Rune, Dragon, Barrows.
Okay.
Okay. I haven't seen those references.
The only thing that makes me think why it wasn't done like that is because if someone says Dragon, you associate a 60 defense requirement with it, which Dragon gloves obviously don't have. It's like 41, I think is the minimum you can have. That's why in RS2 I think they were renamed like Culinary Mantis gloves
Right,
1 up to
yeah.
10.
That's a lot more complicated, isn't it?
Again, no, I
also,
think
we
we're
used
long
to have
overdue
a
doing
sort
that.
of pattern whereby dragon armour specifically came from monster drops, dragon weapons came from quests, and obviously they didn't really fit in with that scheme
Yeah.
as well. So there are probably various reasons for it.
Okay, fair enough. Next question.
But that can be done, yes, easily.
OBLV Gave asks, when making the tentacle whip, can you let us choose the option to keep either the whip or the tentacle?
We could, but it won't increase the price of the tentacle. They'll just even out and you'll still be,
Yeah.
the pair of them will still cost the same amount.
I think that's the idea, is just prevent one from crashing.
If you don't mind the whip costing 700k,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's possible, but I also
It
wouldn't think
is.
it'd be that popular.
It's easily possible. Again, like you literally just said, how popular it would be, I don't think it would stand out. I think people like the idea of the design behind it currently. They like that the whip does have a purpose. It is then repurposed, and we keep the whip prices up. Alternatively, the tentacle prices won't change as a result of doing this. I'm seeing a lot of no's come through in the chat actually.
I'm not seeing a single yes.
Amongst that, there isn't a single yes.
Also,
So-
yeah, given that the logic behind it is that the tentacle absorbs the whip,
Right.
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
That's
If
true.
the,
We kind of shoot ourselves in the foot with our own law, really.
All right, next question. This is an interesting one from Sohail. Good evening, my brothers. Will we get to see any new range content with Zaya? It seems to be only melee/mage based at the moment.
I don't know how someone's come to that conclusion with the very little I've shown you, really. But with what I said earlier in regards to things like the javelins and giving them a new purpose, definitely 100%. I'm not focusing on melee for the new content. There's not going to be a huge melee-centric theme to it. There's going to be in the complete triangle overhaul. Well, not overhaul, sorry, complete triangle. I'm including 3 styles basically. I'm not going to make one completely redundant. I'm not going to abandon one. I'm not going to retire one. They're all going to be completely there together.
Okay.
Range more so than I guess you currently suspect, really.
And especially with the snake boss we've got.
I was going
Yes.
to say, yeah, we were discussing the other day like an underwater area on the new continent.
Yes.
So I think range
Ooh,
with things
sneak
like
peeks.
harpoons and things like that would be specific, quite prevalent underwater, especially.
But I think that was including using
This is where my
range
javelin
fishing.
launcher comes in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
harpoons, underwater
Yeah.
fishing. Yeah.
we can
Alright.
finally use those piranha fish models from God Wars.
Yes, I really do want to get that in the game somewhere. The anglerfish.
All right, so we've got a question from the Twitch chat. This one's asking for skilling pets.
Depends
on that?
which. I mean, we can't exactly give you a tree. But Chinchompa comes to mind.
I don't know if he wants me to talk about it, but I had a meeting just before we came down here, and it was all content devs. That includes RS3 as well. We get together and we talk about things that each other have done. And Mod Cressel showed me something that he was doing for an update that we were doing internally, but we scrapped. And it looked awesome, and it was very similar to the skilling pets thing that you've just mentioned. I'm not going to sort of blow his entire design out of the water, but what he had was fantastic. So I'll go and talk to him afterwards and see how much of it he'd like to talk about himself or how much of it I'm allowed to talk about. But skilling pets, for what he showed, if we could do something like that, would be fantastic.
Okay. Well, judging from the chat,
They
it's
want the
looking
tree
like they
pet.
disagree for now, so you're going to have to prove them wrong.
I can see why people disagree. However, if I can get Chris Earl's approval to talk about things, and if he doesn't mind,
Right.
if he doesn't mind talking about it himself, even for RS3, then I think that skilling pets is a good idea, especially
Okay.
what he's got. His design is brilliant.
next question from the Twitch chat. And that's asking for an update on the teabag emote.
Alfie actually made it.
He did make it. We called it the lunging emote, just to get away from the term teabag. But
Do you want to give demonstration?
sorry, I mean
of it?
lunging.
I want to give a demonstration. Does
Go
anybody,
on,
does
go
anybody
on.
want to get on the floor?
No, you can do it as imaginary.
He doesn't really fit in. You can't need the real effect. I've just seen James look, sort of do an animation back there.
I think James just volunteered to be.
I'm pointing at Ronan. Then
Oh, right.
Okay, Ronan.
Oh, okay.
Where's Mod Wolf when you need him?
I did, before Alfie left, I did sort of give him a sheet of paper saying, please make this for me, and he did. God bless him. So I can offer it to you anywhere possible, really. I'd like to do it for Wilderness, because obviously it's supposed to be a taunt. An initial taunt, you kill your opponent, and then you teabag them. We haven't really put it in game yet, and I might get Gareth to look over it, because...
It's filthy. It's filthy.
Okay, I
What
won't
you
Thank
get
you.
Gareth to look over it,
Thank
I'll
you.
delete it.
Together
I'll
we'll
keep hold of that
prevent
one.
this from happening.
Yeah,
Okay.
why on earth would we want that? Someone was asking me for like a fart emote the other day. I was like, no.
Okay, so I
It's
won't give it
not
to Gareth
happening.
because he'll delete it. I'll keep hold of it, and I'll try and find a reason to launch it with
Over my dead body.
over something else.
All right, next question. This one's from Facade666. And he asks, with the introduction of the Varrock Achievement Diary in 2007, Edgeville was graphically updated to include the furnace. Will we be seeing this same graphic update with the upcoming Achievement Diaries?
You'll be seeing the furnace provided
Yeah.
the rewards pass, but not the
Yeah.
rest of the update.
Okay.
We spoke about graphic update earlier on, didn't we?
Oh
That's a
yeah,
big one.
someone was asking if I'd update an entire city.
Yep.
Was that what we were discussing? Yeah, it's kind of like if anything large scale is going to be done like that, it will always be new content. There's no point in me going over old ground just because, number one, it upsets people, and the larger impact that it has on the game itself is kind of minimal. Whereas if we like stitch in with new content, then that's just going to be like a really strong punchy release.
The reverse dependencies on that are enormous as well. There are, I mean,
Sure.
what city were they asking you to update?
Well,
Please don't be Varrock.
I don't think it was a specific
Oh,
one.
Farrell's got so many
I heard the
cutscenes.
name Falador get mentioned, which would be
Oh.
kind of
Falador's got a
bit
ton of
insane.
cutscenes.
When you consider the amount of quests that run through that area, for us to update something like that is difficult. I mean, we
Okay.
have the entirety of the Tavali rework, which came with the summoning launch, sitting in our archive. We could give you that. That wouldn't actually impact too much on things.
Gotta be
But
careful with the summoning.
If I'm using summoning because that's where it
Yeah.
came with. It doesn't include summoning. It came with summoning. We could give you the Falador rework, which is currently live in. Actually, it's not RS3 because they've moved that around now. I'll have to show you if you wanted to see it. But
Okay.
yeah, as Gareth said, the time taken for him to do that would be huge, and the time taken for Asher Wright to develop it would be even bigger, and the time taken for John to test it would be even bigger still.
So there you
And
go.
it's not a whole lot of benefit.
Months of
We
work.
can only make it look so good with our, I think we're running RuneTech 3.
Well, listening to what they're saying in there, they want it to look worse.
They want it to
So
look
actually,
worse.
go back to 2004, somebody said.
Well, we can make things look worse. Just let me do the graphical update.
Whose job's
Let Gareth
Make it up by
develop it,
MSP.
and well,
Alright.
just don't test it.
So that was a yes to the furnace, but no to the
Yes.
entire city rework. All right, next question. Yellow Swag asks, will we ever see a desert boss, like a giant camel or a giant vulture?
Giant camel. I couldn't offer a giant camel for a boss, really. Neither a vulture. They just don't have that sort of same episodic.
What about a
Feel
giant
to it.
desert bug?
Oh, pardon.
Yes. I think
Like a
we're both
queen.
thinking of the same thing. Not like
Queen of some sort.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
queen of the
No.
desert. maybe.
Insects have that primal fear, though. I mean, nobody looks at a camel and has an irrational fear of camels. I mean, I imagine there are people out there who do.
I beg to
Very
differ.
quite a rational bit of a camel, actually. They're quite
But-
aggressive, but
I mean, I agree, but I can't imagine there being a level 300 giant mutated camel with any particular mechanics that.
What did it do with its humps? That's what
You don't know what's in Menaphos.
We do have the
There could be a
camel.
giant camel.
All right.
I think the great thing about RuneScape is it's kind of like exists in a fantasy world, so we don't have to have camels, we don't have to have vultures, we can have absolutely anything we want. So you could just go to town with some sort of mad sandworm.
Yeah, some sort of vulture camel cross.
Cross
A camel
sandworm.
which flies
Yeah.
with
Could you
a
imagine
hump
giving it a
underneath.
flying
shooting
camel?
lasers.
Gareth, I'd like you to merge a vulture and a camel.
We
I
need a
could do that.
concept for
I
this.
could do it.
What about a giant desert goat?
A goat.
We've
That's
got
even
desert
less
goats.
intimidating.
Goats can be scary.
Goats can be very
Goats have
scary.
got those eyes, haven't they? They've got the eyes that go sideways, the square.
And they yell.
Fingers.
Have you seen them
They're
yell?
horrible.
Okay, we're getting off topic. Let's do the next question. This one's from Magic Caped RS. Are any drops specific for accounts? As in, if I were to get a pet on my next kill, but I didn't get the kill, does that mean the guy next to me just got that pet? Does that make sense?
Wait, so let me just read the question from your screen.
I'll read it out loud again.
Are
All right.
specific drop specific for accounts? As in, if I were to get a pet on my next kill, but I didn't get the kill, would that
Right.
count?
So I'm killing Kraken.
Yes.
I'm about to kill him. Well, this doesn't really work. Let's say I'm killing Bandos. I'm about to kill Bandos, but I didn't do enough damage. The guy next to me did the most damage. I would have gotten a pet drop. Does that mean the guy next to me
The
gets the
drops
pet?
aren't determined in advance.
No.
There's
Right.
no sort of persistent state between what you get on one drop and what you get on the next. It's just at the immediate point the monster is killed, it is randomised at that point. So
Okay. So there you go.
So if your friend got an Armadillo Hill to Kriara, and you're like, oh my god, that could have been mine.
That's exactly it.
There's no reason that ever should have been yours.
This should have been a Mythbusters one.
It kind of was in some respects. Some people, obviously, a lot of people were. Well, actually, no, it wasn't. It wasn't that specific question. I think the question for Mythbusters was if I've got a drop on this world, we should hop worlds. Actually, yeah. But no, if you see someone get a drop and you were free for all, for example, as Ian said, it's rolled on death. So there's no reason it should have been yours if you didn't get it.
Fair enough. All right.
we did a long time ago discuss having a sort of entropy system to make sure everyone's luck averaged out about the same, because everyone was telling us that our random system wasn't random. But the nature of a random system is some people can just be hideously unlucky.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a thread on the forums. There's this one guy who's utterly convinced that we've nerfed the Dragonstone rates from the rogues' chests. I even went to check to make sure that we didn't by accident or something.
RNGesus is a very real thing.
All right. Next question. This one's from Ian. Any possibility of God arrows returning to the game?
Sure, if you want them. It's one of those.
One of those, yes.
They
if
have
you want us.
a very big purpose inside God Wars. So
I can't remember what
Yeah.
range strength they had, but it wasn't.
Were they
that
slightly
much
better than
above
rune
one.
arrows, or?
I think they were ever so slightly.
Okay.
I don't remember anybody using them. To be fair.
I don't think they were used aside from having to have a god item in God Wars. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Rocktail asks if the Crystal Halberd is going to have a special attack.
Initially, no, because crystal weapons don't, but I'd quite happily, pardon me, offer the Dragon Halberd special attack on it. Didn't really have time to balance something like that for this dev blog, but we can do it pre-launch tweak or post-launch feedback.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm seeing a lot of actually positive response from those god arrows, so maybe in the near future, we'll see if you guys actually feel that way in a real poll. Next question. This one's from Shan, and he's asking, for each achievement diary, can we have the button next to it that displays an interface similar to the quest tab telling us the requirements for that diary?
That would take on a couple of weeks.
That's not a small job. It can be done, but it's not a small job.
Okay.
The requirement's fairly easy to look up anyway. I mean, you've got skill guides. If it says smith a rune skimitar, you can just open the smithing skill guide and see what you need.
Yep.
So it's not a great use of dev time, but it can be done. Probably won't.
All right. Next question. This one's from Dr. Zoidberg. Can we get a progress update on resizable mode? The question that's been asked about 1,000 times this stream. How's that coming?
It's not.
Yeah, it's the same as it was before. We haven't done anything on it, mainly because all the effort's gone into trading post. We're looking at it, hopefully, beginning of next year, and then we can do that. I can't remember when it was when I had it planned down to come out.
I think we said Q1 2015.
Yeah, it rings a bell that it seems right that we were thinking about Easter, I think, maybe
Okay.
just before.
When is
I can't
Easter
quite
next
remember
year?
off the top of my head.
The status we're at
Beginning of
now.
April 5th, I think, 6th, something like that.
The status we're at right now is the engine work to make Resizable possible is done. That's all complete. The work that we have to do now is liaise with Ian, Jackmob, and or the engine team and the content team to decide what we want for client-side components, commands. Sorry, so we can position our components quite nicely, and what we're going to do with all the current existing interfaces. So now the engine work's done, it's just the content work done, and it's more liaising with engine to see if there's anything the content can't do currently that we might need their help with. But the functionality, I believe, to make it possible is all done and complete and working.
Okay.
It's just what content need from engine now.
It's on its way, just not anytime this year. All right. Next question. This one's from Orion Dave, and he's asking, can we see someone like Ash/Reach code something like attacks for the snake boss in the background of a Q&A, similar to how Mod Ghost was modeling the snake boss?
Things like that are definitely doable. I think the only problem with that is the tools we use require us to submit, repack, reload quite frequently, which can get quite boring to watch because obviously that's a lot of waiting around, a lot of waiting for compilers to run. And you might find that out of a 30-minute stream, a good 15 minutes of it might be just waiting for a pack page to run.
Yeah,
Also, for those people who don't program, it's not all you're seeing is what to most people was described as in the office at least is just the matrix running across
It's
the
just
screen.
gibberish.
It's just lines of code.
Yeah.
I know Ash isn't particularly. I wouldn't say I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm not confident. Ash is very confident coding, but I don't think Ash is very confident in demonstrating code that could potentially be abused. Because
Right.
whilst RuneScript isn't a public language, it's an in-house language. It is very simple to understand, and anybody from an outside point who might have experience in exploiting the game might be able to take advantage of that. And I don't think Ash is confident in demonstrating too much of that code.
Yep.
Which is absolutely fair enough. But again, we could show you what coding looks like, but again, it isn't very interesting. It's much more interesting to watch someone like Gareth draw something because you can see it come to life. You don't see anything come to life when you're really coding. So
I agree. It would be a cool idea to see something being actually physically made, like the attack of the snake boss, for example.
But we would like to
but,
keep the mechanics of the boss secret until launch.
Okay.
I want to see people going in and dying trying to work out what it is. I'm going to feast on the tears.
It's terrible. All right, next question. This one's a big one from Hash1Tbeer. Can the Wilderness Achievement Diary rewards of the Dragon Bones becoming noted be a hard reward instead of an elite? So you wanna
They could,
touch on that?
but I had not a lot. I had a couple of requests for that, and for every comment that asked for that on at least the forum thread, there was at least 2 others saying this should be elite. It's a really powerful reward.
Okay.
So yeah, while that reward isn't going to appeal to a whole lot of people that can currently complete the elite Wilderness Diary, which has some fairly high requirements but not too bad, it's something for those people to aim for if they want it.
So for those of you that don't know, one of the possible achievement diary rewards for the Wilderness Elite actually was to have Dragon Bones noted upon killing the dragon in the wilderness, which I thought was an awesome idea. I'd love to take advantage of that.
Considerate of the dragon.
But remember, that's an elite diary. This isn't going to be easy to get. All right.
Yeah, if you want some requirements for that, so far I've got 85 mining, 90 smithing,
I'm done.
80 something herb lore, 83 slayer. What else do we have?
You've lost me at 85 mining.
85 fish, 90 cook for cook and fish and cook a dark crab. I think they're the highest ones for elite, really. There wasn't a whole lot of tremendously high level content in the wilderness. We'll have 75 magic and probably
Red Dead
5
are going
energy.
nuts at this point because they've got a thread right now, a mega thread documenting what the requirements are. So
Well, I will be releasing the requirements once I finalise them, and I'll release them slowly over Christmas, so at least the highest level ones. But these are subject to change, so if anyone's gone and killed 4K chompies, I could still remove that task. So, don't go overboard yet. I will release them slowly, and you will have at least one for all of the skills.
Okay. Last question we actually have for Ian, and that's asking if you have any interesting stories from the olden days of RuneScape, as I believe you are the oldest Jagex employee here. Not oldest, but for the longest time, I should say.
longest service.
Yeah,
service.
I always have difficulty with these questions because there's always, what's the best story to tell? What do people already know?
The 3 you told me earlier were fantastic.
So yeah, what was? So people who follow me on Twitter will have seen I've posted a copy of the brief for the original hunting skill.
Yep.
What people might not know is early on we were aware that people tend to pull our game to bits, try to find out any spoilers they can in advance of us releasing anything. So to try to hide this, when we were working on the hunting skill, in code it was actually the yodeling skill.
The yodeling skill.
Yes, and construction was the hex editing skill. So anyone who tried to pull our game to bits to find out what we're releasing in advance would find the hex editing and yodeling skills.
The yodeling skill, that would have been interesting.
And then just before I released it, I had to go through and replace all those references to if stat yodeling is greater than 50 to if stat hunter is greater than 50.
Yeah. I can imagine that would have really thrown someone off guard, finding out RuneScape's going to have a new yodeling skill. Almost like sailing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what skill did that turn into?
Okay.
What else? The other one I mentioned to you was so in RuneScape Classic, for woodcutting, you had to click on a tree every single time you wanted to even take a swing at it, and you would either get logs or you would get a message saying you slipped and failed to hit the tree.
Really?
So when I was converting this skill from RuneScape Classic to RuneScape 2, initially just sort of copied it verbatim, but we were obviously adding animations to everything. So we had this wonderful animation of the player slipping and failing to hit the tree, which meant but we also put in the auto repeating, so you didn't have to click every single time.
Yeah.
So you would just click on the tree and you'd just be flailing backwards and forwards with your axe as if you were drunk until you finally hit it and got a set of logs.
So there you have it, guys. Be grateful for
I
your
think we
AFK.
should put that back. I think
Your
we should
one
really
click.
Put that back.
and then get a full inventory of logs. Could you imagine? I'm just lost at even taking 1 click per swing. I have 1 wood cutting.
So was I.
People max like that, didn't they?
Yeah. So,
Even more fun in devious mode, even earlier, the original script, every time you took a swing at the tree, your player would shout, "Eat axe, evil tree."
This is RuneScape still.
I can still make
This is
that
devious
happen.
mode, the precursor to
Okay.
RuneScape.
Okay.
We actually had a question from the Twitch chat that was on the screen that James, I think, took down, which was how many lines of code are there in Old School RuneScape?
Oh, we passed some kind of milestone recently. What was it?
I actually know because I packed this today and I looked at this yesterday to tell Ronan how many lines of code my achievement diaries was.
I'd like to see some guesses before you say the number.
Oh, we could do it if people want to guess. I mean, I did release a number during Clue Scrolls because obviously I hit a certain milestone during Clue Scrolls.
I'm gonna say
If people want to guess what we were at right now,
I'm gonna say 1337.
you're gonna say one. You think 1337 lines of code?
1,337 lines of code.
Well, don't go with
I'll
it.
let you know now that achievement diaries
Million.
is twice that.
Well, Clue Scrolls was 50k, rough, give or take.
So we're getting, some say 10 million, some say 21 million, some says 100,000.
Over 9,000?
90,000,
Yeah.
1.2
Over 9,000 is a
million.
better guess. I
It's
think.
just lines of script, right? Not.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are lines of script. These don't include config code or constants or enums or anything like
I
that.
can't remember.
I know what it is right now to the nearest
Oh,
thousand.
there we go. I miss old times. I think it's quite close.
Really?
What did he just say?
He said a million.
648,000?
What, sorry?
He said a million.
A million.
A million.
So during the Clue Scroll project, we hit 1 million lines of code.
Woo!
That was my addition to Clue Scroll project was my project, and with 20,000 lines of code plus, I don't know the exact figure.
It was close to 50.
It might be 50,000 lines of code that I wrote for that project. We went over 1 million lines of code. Since then, Ash and I have done a fair bit of maintenance, mainly Ash, to the RuneScript language in various files during the projects, and we've actually gone below 1 million again, which shows you how many lines of code we remove and make more efficient. As of today, there is 998,000 and I think 72 lines
That's
of
million's
code.
close enough, I think.
So the
maybe.
person who guessed 1 million is very, very
So,
close.
congratulations to that chap whose name I've completely
So what do you
forgotten.
do when you hit a number like 1 million? Do you celebrate?
Oh, well, the moment
Right, not at Clue Scrolls, we were tremendously busy.
The moment I packed and saw it was over 1 million, it's oh, I tweeted it saying that we're over 1 million lines of code now. But since then, mainly Ash actually, I've done a fair bit, but Ash has done the majority of it.
Yeah, construction.
We've made a lot of code a lot more efficient by removing a lot of superfluous lines that just don't really need to be there. They're just being called for the sake of being called. And when you consider a project like Achievement Diaries, which is 50,000 lines, which takes us over 1 million, and then Ash removes a load of code because it's completely superfluous, you kind of get the impression of how much crap code there is in the repository somewhere in the history. There's still plenty more to go, and we can remove a lot more still, but about 998,000 lines of code right now.
Yeah, it all boils down to a game that's been developed over 14
Yes.
years, and it just keeps getting added to, and there's been hundreds of developers worked on it over the years.
Everyone's got their own programming style, so a lot of people like putting things on new lines for the sake of doing so. A lot of people like putting spaces between new lines before they even put code on the next line, so that really ramps up the lines of code that we have. If you were to cut out stuff from some of the quest files, you'd remove nearly 8,000 lines of code from a single quest. And that's just removing spaces and putting things back on one line like they should be. So
There you go. Okay. I think we're pretty much out of questions for this week. I think we're going to have a couple of the questions that were the bigger ones up on YouTube, being the PvP armors and Divine. That way, hopefully, we stop getting spammed that question. And then maybe next week, we might just address Dragon Claws again.
for one final time, I'm seeing
For one final
there's
time.
a lot of Dragon Claws in the chat. I'll save answering that question for next week because I believe
Yeah.
we want to answer it for one final time.
That's going to be a good one. The entire Q&A is just going to be Dragon Claws. Just one question.
I know. We could have claws, but they're cosmetic dragon claws. I think everyone would love that. Do you not think?
You might
That is a good
very
idea,
quickly become
actually.
the most hated mod on the team.
I like that idea.
No, it's my title.
It's terrible.
I'll put it out there that
Right.
I am a fan of Dragon Claws. Don't get me wrong, I do love Dragon Claws, but
We've got Diango selling dragon kites and dragon plates. I'm sure we can come up with something.
Christmas update.
There you go. Yeah.
we'll answer
There's
that next week.
a new dragon in the new continent that you kill and you get its claws.
There is always room in the new continent. I could always give you Dragon Claws in the new continent.
Dragon
it's
that
entirely
gives out presents. Like
Like,
Santa
do you want
Claus.
terrible Dragon Claws now or a better
That'd be a
form of them
red
in the
dragon
continent?
then.
Yeah, a red dragon with white hat on. White fluff around the outside.
Okay, guys, so yeah, if you wanted to watch any of this back or the highlights for this, Again, you can find them on the YouTube channel later today, as well as a new trading post demo. A little sneak peek at exactly how to use it. It's not too it's not too complicated, as Ash demoed a couple weeks back, but yeah, found that today. And Dragon Claws next week, also be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Not the update.
Absolutely.
A few other things to plug, I guess. The Achievement Diary Rewards poll is now open, so head to your nearest poll booth and vote yes for everything if you want them. We've also got a trimmed quest cape and an Achievement Diary cape on offer as well, and there was one of the rewards that we split apart because we polled it once before. Look out for the BTS December, which is only a little bit late, Ronan.
It's already up.
Oh, was it up?
Yeah.
Actually published it. Okay.
Take that back.
Shots fired.
It's still the 4th.
And deflected.
All right, so go read the BTS for December, find out what's coming, and it's got details of the Snake Boss name competition on there as well, which we'll go into more detail about tomorrow as well, I think we said.
Yep.
So, woo, stuff.
Okay.
Exactly.
There you have it, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.